Well, another month has passed since the last time I gave you a State of the Church update, and now at the end of September, I wanted to come to you again and give you some information about what's happening in the church now and a little bit to help you with expectations for what's to come. First, about our services on Sunday mornings. As Pastor Bruce mentioned this last Sunday morning, starting this week, the first Lord's Day in October, we're going to be switching our Sunday morning services. We're going to have the indoor service at 9 a.m. and the outdoor service at 11 a.m. The idea there is to maximize the sunshine and hopefully have the outdoor service be a little bit warmer as we go into the fall here. We are going to continue having the outdoor service as long as we possibly can. We are working still on possibly having a shelter built down there to extend our season and make things a little bit more comfortable in bad weather. But regardless of whether we're able to build a shelter down there this fall or not, we're prepared to stick it out as long as we can, even if it gets pretty cold. I'm not able to grow any more hair, but I can put on a hat. I can put on some gloves, and we'll see what we can do. If the weather gets absolutely terrible, if it's far too cold for us to meet outside, we'll have to move that service indoors. We can have 2 services inside. We could even have 3 services inside. Maybe we can make whatever accommodations we need to make. We can have a service that's a little bit less strict about mask wearing. We can have overflow in various rooms of the church. We can do whatever we have to do to keep meeting together regularly in the winter months. Now, speaking of services, you've probably noticed, those of you that are regular attenders and members here, there have been a number of folks visiting at our services on Sunday morning recently, both indoors and outdoors. And I want to encourage you, those of you that are part of Grace Church, to be welcoming and reach out to people if you see them visiting at those services. I know we're all social distancing right now. We need to, but we want to be careful that our social distancing doesn't become anti-social distancing. We want to be sure that we continue to greet folks and be welcoming to them, even if we can't, give them a big hug and invite them over to our house that afternoon. Respect people's space. Don't make them feel uncomfortable, but also don't make them feel unwelcome either. If you end up in a conversation with somebody who's visiting the church or who's been attending here, see if they're on our email list or if they want to be on our email list. Right now, that's one of the primary ways we're communicating. And with everything changing so quickly sometimes, it's important that people who are attending our services be able to get our emails. So send them to gcrva.org/contact. And there's a place there to sign up for our mailing list if you're not already on it. Some of you all, 2 weeks ago, participated in our children and youth ministry on Wednesday night. Pastor Bruce led us through a Bible study, and then we played games together. We're going to do that again this Wednesday night, the 30th of September, and we're going to do that every other week for a little while longer. On off weeks, we are going to continue providing you with videos to use at home, Catechism Clarence and Mr. Monkey Bottom, and a Bible reading video from the Jesus Storybook Bible. There are various other things going on in the life of the church right now. There are some women meeting to study 1 Peter together. There are some men talking about getting together to read a J.I. Packer book. If you haven't let me know yet and you are interested in being part of one of those reading groups, maybe let me know. Send me an email. We'll buy the books and start planning those meetings pretty soon. We're also going to continue with our Thursday night Bible study for the time being. We're entering right now what is normally the really busy season in our calendar at Grace Church. The missions conference, the Thanksgiving dinner, our Reformation service, our talent show, all those sort of things happen every fall. Some of that is going to look different this year. I don't know about a Reformation Day service. We don't know about a Thanksgiving dinner. We are going to have a missions conference. We met recently to discuss it. We're going to shoot for towards the end of November, probably the weekend before Thanksgiving. It's not gonna look like our regular missions conferences. We're gonna make sure that resources are available online. We won't have the the meals that we normally do probably, and some of the extra things, but we are going to get together to talk about missions and refocus our attention there. We also are considering what it would look like to have a talent show online this year, to ask you to submit your talents, whether it's singing songs or doing skits or whatever it is, to submit them pre-recorded, and we can edit them together and broadcast them on the live stream at the church. If that's something that you're interested in, be thinking about that. If you have ideas, communicate with me about it. The talent show, while it may seem like a silly thing, it is a favorite thing for me, for many folks in the life of the church. It's a good time for us to be able to be together as a family. And even if we can't do it in the room together, it'd be nice to see each other on video. So think about that. We are also putting new members classes and baptism classes on the calendar. You'll find out more about that very soon. Even though things look different, and we're not sure what next month or the month after is going to look like, we are, with God's help, continuing to make progress and move forward. If you have any questions about any of that, please let me know. You can call the office, you can email me or Pastor Bruce or Mr. Knuff. Now, with that being said, I do want to share a pastoral word with you about politics right now. As you are well aware, I'm sure, there is a major presidential election coming up, and the political climate in our country is polarized right now. Every few days it seems to be getting more and more bizarre. Tomorrow night there are presidential debates, and I'm sure that's going to be surreal in some ways. There are a lot of contributing factors making our political landscape chaotic right now. The COVID-19 pandemic is not going away. There are various vaccines on the horizon. Our international relationships are very important right now. There's unrest and violence and controversy all over our nation. There is a desperate need of good, or at least functional, leadership in our country. And right now there's an open seat on the Supreme Court. This is maybe the most divisive time politically that I've ever experienced, maybe that many of you have ever experienced. And that division is fully felt in some ways right now within the church. There are people in our congregation and in Christian churches around the country who are all over the map politically. For some folks, the issue of abortion is the issue, and it is decisive in the way they view politics. For some folks, the appointment of Supreme Court justices is the issue, and it is decisive in the way they think about politics. For some folks, immigration and the way that we view folks from other nations in our nation and our borders is the issue. For some, the increasing polarization and anger, the racial and socioeconomic tension that is building in our country is the issue. And their view about how to vote in this upcoming presidential election is affected by what they consider to be the issue. I know some of you feel like you're not voting for a person, you're voting for a platform, you're voting for an ideology, and the issues of religious liberty and government overreach are leading you to vote in a certain direction, thinking about the future of the country. For some of you, you see this presidential election as not voting for a platform or an ideology, you're voting for a person. And for character reasons, for moral reasons, you cannot tolerate the idea of voting for a person that you consider to be immoral or unfit for the office. Some of you right now, you can't stomach the idea of voting for either major party candidate, President Donald Trump or former Vice President Joe Biden, and you don't know what to do. There doesn't seem to be a viable third-party candidate on the horizon anywhere. On November 3rd, I think the people at Grace Church will not be of the same mind when we go to the polls to cast our votes, maybe more so than ever. We're going to be all over the map. So as your pastor, I want to ask three things of you. I do plan here in the coming weeks to spend a Sunday morning thinking about together what the Bible says about how we view politics and our responsibilities at a time like this. But I want to ask three things of you now. First, I want to ask you as church members to be especially gracious to one another at this time. Ephesians chapter 4 tells us that we are to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which we have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Eager to maintain unity. Be careful not to buy into the world's way of thinking that people who disagree with you are ignorant or inferior or should be feared or hated. There are smart and godly people coming to different conclusions right now about politics and about how they ought to vote. Resist the urge to make harsh judgments about one another and give other Christians the benefit of the doubt. Friends, be sure that your allegiance to Christ is higher up on the flagpole than your allegiance to any political party or ideology. And be zealous to maintain good fellowship and real unity with brothers and sisters in Christ. We are one body together, and He is our head. That's the first thing. Please be gracious to each other right now. Secondly, show respect for people in authority and public figures. 1 Peter chapter 2 tells us to honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor. Servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to the good and to the gentle, but also to the unjust. We are to be a people who show respect for others, and particularly people in positions of authority, public figures. You may not have a lot of respect for Donald Trump, but please show respect for Donald Trump. You may not have much respect for Joe Biden, but please show respect for him. Show respect for Kamala Harris. Show respect for Amy Coney Barrett. Show respect for the members of the Senate Judiciary Committee that will be conducting her confirmation hearing, no matter how they conduct themselves. Show honor, show respect. It's easy to be angry with people right now, and it's easy for that anger to become scoffing, mocking, cynical behavior in us. But that's not appropriate. It's not right for us to be scoffers and mockers. It is ungodly. Remember what Psalm 1 says, "Blessed is the one who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers." Don't take up this scoffing, mocking mentality of the world. We're to be a people of love and deference and respect as we honor God. So that's the second thing. Show respect for people. The first thing, be gracious to people. And the third thing is, brothers and sisters, pray right now. We know that our hope isn't in people. Our hope is in the Lord. That's always been the case. It is more clear than ever. From where is our help going to come? Our help's going to come from Him. It's not going to come from Republicans. It's not going to come from Democrats. It's not going to come from Kanye West. It's not going to come from anybody who's putting themselves forward as a potential leader in our time. We are in desperate need for the God who made us to deliver us from the mess that we are in. And so rather than just wring our hands, rather than just complain and be anxious, we should pray. We should humble ourselves and ask Him for deliverance. Ask Him for mercy. Ask Him to pour out His Spirit on our nation and work in us and work in our communities in a way that He has not worked for years and years, because we're in need of it. Now remember what Psalm 121 says. "I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth." In a desperate time, in a time like this, our help will come from the Lord. And so we ought to lift our eyes up to Him and be seeking that help from where we know that it'll be found. So friends, pray. Show respect for people. Be gracious to one another. Please. As always, it's an honor to be your pastor. I pray for you often. Please keep me and the other elders in your prayers as well. God has been good to us. I trust He'll continue to be good to us.